Hello, this is Ebony Phoenix here, back with another podcast. I hope things are going well for you ladies out there. And what I want to share this week is about my personal divestment journey. And it was a long one, just like some people's short and some are long. But I wanted to share this with you so you'll kind of understand where I'm coming from in terms of relating uh, to other people's issues. I had some of the same issues, and I just want to let you know where I came from. Okay, so this won't take very long. We're not going to take very long with this, but I wanted to help you understand me a little better. My divestment journey was difficult, and I had no choice, I think, in doing it. It's something I felt like I had to do to survive. At first, it was a mental divestment, then it was emotional. I just checked out. Then physical, when I could get away. And lastly, it was spiritual. One of my earliest memories was the physical and verbal abuse that my mother endured. So my dad was drunk. He was violent. He was a violent drunk. But he was mostly violent when my mom was pregnant. I mean, he beat her up any other times, but her pregnancy beatings were pretty brutal. We kids would go to the bedroom and put our hands over our ears. Since I was the eldest, I was pretty much mom's helper at home. I pretty much filled in some ways where he did not and would not. And so I got to tell you about this time when he skipped town to get away from the police in the area because he got into some issue, and my mom was very, very pregnant with my brother, her fourth child. I was 6, my sister was 4, my other brother was 3, and she went into labor while he was gone, while I watched the little ones. She gave birth to my brother, who had some severe perinatal anoxia, and he came out extremely mentally developmentally delayed. Um, so it's funny. My parents actually got married after their third kid. And since it was, back in the day, there were male relatives pressuring her to marry him because, she had 3 kids by him. And I remember my father was actually, from the stories that I was told by my mother's relatives and others, that he gave her some concussions while they were actually dating. And I remember my aunts telling me how one of my uncles got so angry with the guy, he pointed a shotgun at him, and my mom just got in between the shotgun and my father, not even thinking about her welfare and safety. So, yeah, that ingrainment is pretty deep. His behavior in drinking became progressively worse. And he is one of the fellows who had how do I say, a self-esteem issue. I don't know what my father went through when he was a kid and when he was coming up, but I do know that he was illiterate, and he was a dysfunctional illiterate, and he was a dysfunctional alcoholic, and he practiced reproductive coercion. I mean, he liked to go and get those birth control pills and dump them down the toilet. I watched him do that once. I took mental notes. I watched him, and I couldn't understand as a little girl why he was doing that. But one thing I do remember was that guns made him feel powerful. And my mom took some pretty terrible beatings. Well, her mom took some pretty terrible beatings. And one of those worst beatings was during her 5th pregnancy with my sister. He stomp and kick the poor woman. 8 months pregnant. He was fond of shooting at her too. He barely missed a few times. And those were, when that happened, it was the most scary thing in my life. And I remember she had her back turned to him, and she was standing in front of one of the plate glass windows we had, and he went out in the yard and shot at her through the plate glass window and barely missed her, which is why I cannot have my back to a window or a door whenever I go to a restaurant. I was a nerdy little kid with glasses, and that's not a good thing in the South in general or in Blackistan especially. I used to fight. Black kids love to fight. And it was usually little boys trying to prove something to other little boys. So let's just beat up the girl with the glasses. And I would smoke them pretty much. I learned how to fight very quickly when I started kindergarten. Um, the kids were cruel to each other. They would call each other cruel names. Everybody was poor. So, we didn't know anything else, but yeah, it was, school was interesting. So mom finally left that situation, which just deteriorated. He started beating my ass when I was 12. I mean, he would hit me closed fists, like I was in a boxing ring with him and he's Muhammad Ali or whatever. So I would go to school as an honor student with bruises. Okay. Our next door neighbor had all 5 of her kids taken away by CPS. And when the school system sent a social worker to our home, my mom got spooked. She left uh, a few weeks after that, and we moved into a household with different people that we had never been able to really get to know. And in that one house, there were 3 other single mom aunts, and we never saw those kids' fathers ever. And so then there was 2 uncles and my grandparents and us. We were 6, so there was no privacy, but plenty of cruelty to go around, right? Poverty was what you breathed. That's how you lived. And I was just pretty sick of it because we didn't have to live that way, but we ended up because my father was not a functional human being, let alone a functional spouse and father. So my mom, was diagnosed with breast cancer at 35. Mom never went to the doctor. And one time she did because there was a lump. And she's like, what is this? And basically that's what it was. And it was advanced. By the time they found it, my father didn't know. He didn't care. He never tried to help. But he did stalk and threaten us for a while when we first got out of the house. So staying with her family meant going to the slave-established Missionary Baptist Church. You heard it right, girls. Yeah, we were forced to go. When we were little, we never went to church. My father didn't believe in church. So when I was a little kid, we didn't go to church except for, an occasional summer camp that the white churches were putting on. So even with family around, my mom had little support getting to her oncology appointments. And it's funny how everybody expected my mom to help them, drive them places, fill out forms for them because she was smart. She never finished high school. She had me, but it was kind of strange to see that dynamic. Okay, so I started learning a whole lot about misogyny, colorism, and the hair obsession when I started living with them. It was a sad education. When I was 14, my father tried to groom me and sexually exploit me just after my mom had left and moved into the home. He always cheated on my grandma with these light-skinned women. He was a mulatto himself. So I guess I was fair game because I was light-skinned, whatever. And that was just too much for me. I just could not believe what was going on. I had no real contact with boys, and even my age, let alone, that kind of stuff. Yeah, he was asking me for some penis play, and I'm like, dude, you can deal with that yourself. Bye-bye. So my aunts pretty much targeted me for abuse. I just got to let you guys know, I had demons in me when I was coming up, right? Emotional abuse and projection. I was the community babysitter because we had all these out of wedlock kids around. And I resented it. I hated it. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't make any friends. I couldn't do anything after school. It was awful. Um, and there were times when I had to stay out of school, even in elementary school, to help watch after the other kids while mom went to work, and my father was out with somebody else or sleeping off of his drunk. His, that, he was either trying to get drunk or coming off from being drunk or being hungover. So my mother's family, which was, lived not too far from where the plantation was, reminded me, my mother's family constantly reminded me that I was an educated fool and had no street smarts or common sense, and that I was warned that smart girls were doomed to be spinsters forever. Nobody's gonna want you. Okay, all right. So my mom got us out of that situation. I mean, the house burned down and my grandfather died in it. But my mom moved us out of that, and we moved into a projects. And the stench of poverty stayed. It was, it was a pretty tough time for all of us. And she worked until she couldn't work anymore, until the cancer metastasized to the point that she was so sick she could not work. But she always worked. We got secondhand clothes from somewhere, somebody, but we were always clean. So going to that church taught me of my lowly status as a female. My father did try to drill that in my head too. He said, no matter how smart or talented you may be, you are below any man on earth. I'm like, wow, wow. He liked that Old Testament thing. The Old Testament was his friend, apparently. The New Testament, not so much, right? And people started, rumors that I was a lesbian because I was a non-dating, non-pregnant teenager. So they found me a boyfriend 5 years older than me who kept proposing marriage to me and wanting sex because I was a virgin. What the hell was that? I thought he was the goofiest piece of shit ever who ever walked. And my mother was sick at this time, and a family member so-called said, we asked your mom if it was okay. I could find my own boyfriends. I don't know what these idiots were doing. The entire church was pretty much pressuring me to marry this guy I had nothing in common with and didn't want. I was done with all of them. So I remember the preacher would give sermons mentioning my name twice in said sermons about how smart people would get too big for God. And I was only 17 and 18 years old, and I was looking for God in my own way. So I divested emotionally and spiritually, shut down. I started making plans after high school, and I realized I had to be patient, bide my time, and get out, get away from that situation. I focused on my studies and reading for solace, and I joined the military. And during the stay with my parents, my mother's parents all those years, I got past 3 attempted sexual assaults, my gramps and 2 male cousins, and I just kept my nose in a book. That's the only place I had some peace. I did have 1 attempted sexual assault in college, but I showed him who he was messing with or tried to deal with, and all potential perpetrators were Black. I guess they thought I was just a piece of shit. I'm just gonna use her and move on. Me and my dick are gonna move on. Well, I just decided at those times it was me or you, boo boo. I chose me. I learned to always choose me. Who else is gonna choose me? My father didn't choose me. My uncles didn't choose me. My cousins didn't choose to protect me. Nobody. And it was a very vulnerable, scary time. I graduated with honors, and my mom died. So some family member pressured me not to go to college and take care of, they wanted me to stay out of school and take care of my 4 siblings, which I could not do. And I realized, I had enough sense to realize I couldn't do that. I mean, I was 18 years old, and my sister was 16, brother 15, other brother 13, my baby sister was 8. And my father still didn't step up, but I was tired of doing his job or even tried to taking up the slack for him. I had no job skills and nothing to offer my siblings anyway. And I knew I was in no shape to raise kids. I had just lost my mom, my only support, my only friend, my whole world. So I went to college for a degree in some peaceful surroundings. It was a predominantly white school. I made friends for the first time. We moved around so much when I was little. It was kind of, when I was young, it was kind of difficult to make stable friends. So anyway, um, my father, I had figured it out, but he had contracted HIV after a drunken fight with his sister. He had a tainted blood fusion back in those days. And that sister basically cut him from bottom of the neck to his navel. So he needed a few transfusions to get by. So he contracted HIV. And so once I physically divested when I left for college, I was so happy. And my mother's family was hot because here's the thing. They no longer had any type of grasp or really any control over me. I got nasty letters from people. I still made the dean's list, but my PTSD caught up with me my sophomore year. And my siblings felt abandoned by me because I found out that no one was really taking care of them. My self-image was poor because, you know, if you have cousins and uncles and people around you saying, "Oh my God, you're ugly," and I had one uncle basically tell me, "You look like Eartha Kitt. That's what you look like. You look like her." I was like, "Yeah, great. I don't know who Eartha Kitt is, dude. Okay, fine." And so he tried to, tried to console me and said, "Don't believe those idiots. They just want somebody to pick on." And I started to gain confidence once I left and went to college. And I remember it was funny because the white guys would ask me out for a date, whether they had some good intentions or not. You know, there was not going to be any punani anyway. But the black guys were very straightforward. They would ask for sex, and if your bod was banging, and mine was, they didn't want to waste time getting to know you. I guess. I don't know. I was a cheerleader, I guess, and that was the thing. But I noticed on campus, the black guys screwed whatever would let them. A nice wet hole was good enough for them, and many were athletes who even didn't even graduate. And so I wasn't interested in any guy who was on the academic chopping block anyway. But I almost got on the academic chopping block when I was dealing with my PTSD, and I almost lost my scholarship. But I didn't, and I held on. So another thing I noticed on the college campus was the identity issues. There was no Black Greek life. It's a private school. And it was a white county. It was a dry county. Of course, the next county wasn't dry. So everybody did liquor runs. I noticed that. I was always the designated dummy in college because I wasn't a drinker. And, the other students, black students, would complain, "There are not enough black people here. Wah, 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 wah. Yeah, yeah, yeah." So I went on, lived my life, graduated, went to professional school, and that was good for me. Lived my life, married, divorced, and I was divested, but out of guilt. I did date one African American man, ADOS, for 8 weeks, and I ditched him. I ditched his ass quick. He cyber stalked me for 5 years afterward, though, following me from place to place and calling my place of work. Who does that? Anyway, I called the friendly neighborhood FBI and said, "Hey, this is interstate stalking." And that was the end of him. I considered dating an African national, a diaspora guy, right? Then I said, nah. He was 10 years my junior anyway. He went on to have two little black girls, never married the mom. He tried to get with me after the first girl was born. Nope. 10 years later, he called and tried me again. And I was like, nope, not happening. And he's a fairly wealthy guy, good career, but no integrity. What about those sweet little girls? He needs to be busy with them and not make any more of them. And I was married again by that time anyway. So I guess it was a shock. Strange, strange, strange. So what was next? What's next, after divestment? Well, divestment became easier and a way of life for me. I taught it to my daughter in terms of putting yourself first. I had spent my young life looking after other people, then my siblings, then my mom. I was just done. Other people's kids and all this kind of stuff. Nobody cared about what I needed or wanted. So with divestment, I could breathe and be myself. I got my degree and working on my second grad degree here. And here's the thing. You have to be strategic about your sexuality, okay? Guard your reproductive health. Guard your womb. No babies before 30, please. No subsequent baby mamahood, meaning, okay, baby mama, all right, that happened. Okay, fine. Your child is a blessing, move on. Just don't let it happen again. And more than once, it's not a mistake, it's a decision that you make. Be strategic about your financials and career goals. Do not let a Dusty take your bag. Do not let a Dusty take your potential bags, meaning if you're going to school, if you're going to some type of training, don't let someone interfere with that. Be strategic about your friendships and your networks. Networks help you get jobs, okay? Friendships can give you referrals. Be strategic about the churches or the religion or philosophies that you follow. If they don't uplift you, get rid of them. Most Black churches do not uplift women and girls anyway. They want you to write a check, give them cash, but they're not going to uplift you. Who you choose to be in your life is a decision that affects the rest of your life. And also who you choose to be with affects the rest of your life, for better or worse. Okay? Domestic violence and unwanted babies can basically rob you of your future. Now, I had nobody to talk to. I didn't know any divested women. I just knew mammy this, mammy that. You might as well put a kerchief around your head and call yourself Aunt Jemima because that's what you were going to do. That's what everybody expected you to do. And that wasn't for me. So beautiful Black girl, beautiful Black woman, you need to stop hiding under a Blackistani rock, hiding in the closet. You got a lot to share and you've got talent. You've got so much. Let the world really see you, not through the lens that Black men have created of you. You are not a chicken head. You're not a thought. You're not a this and a that. You're not a bitch. You're none of that. You're a woman and a girl, okay? And why not? I mean, this world benefits from your efforts. GPS, Black lady. First computer languages, Black lady. LASIK surgery, Black lady. Come on. We give this world so much just to have the people in our community keep trying to slap us down. And do you know that there are no programs for Black women and girls? Everybody just kind of leaves us out in the wilderness. Oh, she'll make it. Oh, but just let's see what the boys don't want it. They usually end up in the prison cell. Okay? You don't. And stop letting Black men and the dominant society control your narrative. Please stop that. There's still people running around saying, R. Kelly was mad, he was framed. I mean, really? Really? Now, the man had talent, no doubt. But just because you have talent does not mean you can get away with victimizing vulnerable people. Preachers do the same thing. Professors do the same thing. Stepfathers do the same thing. And they're all criminals in my book. Don't let these fools gatekeep your fulfillment. fulfillment and self-actualization. Look up Maslow's guide of self-actualization, and it's pretty interesting. You deserve all of that. I deserve it too. I've worked so hard, and I still have people angry with me because of who I am and what I do, and I try to help people, and I try to make the world a better place than I found it. And other folks feel that you have no right to try to do that, being you. Well, I'm like, okay, fucketh all of you, and I'm going to do me. And ladies, I want you to do you. So I'm doing just fine. Now, I'm going to be honest, after those two boneheads that I voluntarily tried to date, I never date African American men. I am happy I made that decision. I am not compatible with them. And they will they would say probably the same thing. She's not compatible with me. I'm not compatible with them culturally, financially, and spiritually. I don't believe in a whole bunch of tenets of the traditions of the Black church. I just don't. My happiness and my freedom to just be me, that's the most important thing to me. When I was with my parents, I just felt trapped, so trapped. And then there were people in my family who wanted to trap me further. Remember that guy I told you who kept proposing marriage because I was a virgin? And I think he was too. I was 16 and he was 21. And apparently a family member decided, go marry her. She ain't going nowhere. And when I broke up with him, he just let it out. He says, your relatives wanted me to get you pregnant so that you wouldn't go to college, you wouldn't go anywhere. I'm like, thanks for telling me that, schmo, but bye. I'm not your trinket. I'm not your possession. So remember, divestment is about putting your needs and wants first. And, Diana Ross did that. Minna Ripperton did that. Kamala Harris did that. Eartha Kitt did that. Black men do that. They divest. They do it good. They do it well, So I'm not going to call it divestment. I'm going to have to call it divestment. How about you, lady? You deserve good stuff too. Think about that. So call me a divested bitch, but I'm a free, unharmed, happy, healthy, loved, 40-year divested bitch. How you like me now? Bye-bye. Until next time, peace and light to you.